I got all things that are good.
Brian, I need you to tell me about mastering the human domain. There's this thing that you had me watch today. Fucked my head up a little bit. I haven't wanted to talk about it. You've been talking about it like crazy. Obviously not on the show because everybody knows what I'm talking about. But some crazy shit. Tell me about it, Brian.
Well, first I'll read this little write-up that I sent you along with this video earlier.
I'll read you the write-up, and then I want you to tell me what you know, and then I'll tell you what I've kind of, what my conclusion after watching the video. This is what he said to me, folks. Where else have we heard this phrase? Oh, yeah. It's on the logo for Jade Helm 15. The Geospatial Intelligence Foundation's video website has this video from their last symposium.
That was a typo. I later learned it was a 2010 symposium.
Oh.
Which kind of makes it even scarier.
Exactly.
This has been in the works for a while.
Exactly. And think about the NSA mass data collection program.
Yeah.
The USGIF came up with the concept of mastering the human domain. Came up with the concept of mastering the human domain. Duh, I thought there was like a whole nother, I didn't see the dot, sorry. About USGIF, the United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation is the only organization of its kind aimed at bringing together the many disciplines involved in the practices or involved in the geospatial intelligence sector to exchange ideas, share best practices, and promote the education and importance of a national geospatial intelligence agenda. This supports the widespread belief that Jade Helm 15 is actually a live op to roll out a blanket control grid in times of crisis. See Executive Order from Brainstorming number 9. Geospatially mapping the human domain, in their terms, means profiling large groups of people based on geographic locale. This is exactly what SOCOM and JSOC have stated that Jade Helm will be exercising. A very interesting, eye-opening video, to say the least. So if anybody wants to know where they can find this video that Brian's touching on here, it's you just search on Google or on YouTube, Mastering the Human Domain. Don't just leave that because there are a couple other videos about mastering the human domain, and they are about the same topic. But if you want to watch this in particular video, which is from this conference, you want to type in Mastering the Human Domain, Socio-Cultural Intelligence and Analysis. There's no dash between socio-cultural. It's just socio-cultural intelligence and analysis. And he was mistaken. It was USGIF's 2010 symposium. Hey, you wanted me to tell him what you said, so that's what you said. All right. Brian, so what are your thoughts on this? Because for anybody that doesn't know, geospatial is another word is basically how you would describe geography, okay? But if you were describing people instead of geography, so how you would map certain things, and you would have a topographic map, you can have different kinds of maps. It's kind of like the geosocial, but it's evaluating data sets of people and how people move and how people act and interact with each other and things of that such.
Well, this is where those fusion centers that all the conspiracy theorists have been hearing about over the years and wondering what they're actually for, the NSA fusion centers. The reason they're collecting mass amounts of data on you is because they're going to profile your region based on your religious beliefs, political beliefs, etc., so on and so forth, as was discussed in Jade Helm, as was also discussed in the Mastering the Human Domain USGIF Symposium. Now, in this particular video at this symposium, which I'm starting to believe Jade Helm was born out of that actual lecture.
See, I am not a believer of that, but continue. I apologize.
Okay, well, the 5 individuals who spoke.
I secede.
The 5 individuals who spoke, first was Lieutenant Colonel Al DeLeonardo. He ran a threat fusion center for USOC, which focused on human terrain mapping. Interesting. Okay. Next was Liz Lyon, a geographer with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, dealing with socioeconomic mapping.
Okay.
That could be interesting in times of economic crisis, which we learned on the last episode. A national crisis could be defined as anything. Literally anything. Watch number 9. Jerry Dobson, he's a professor at the University of Kansas and a president of the American Geographical Society. He's a leader in participatory mapping And his aim is to discuss how the government is already doing it and how they could, quote, do it better, end quote.
Okay.
Number 4 was Doug Weinstein from the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. He had a lot to say, obviously, as did Lee Schwartz, the geographer of the United States at the Department of State, INR.
Yep.
So that's an interesting little group of people there talking about geospatial intelligence, mastering the human domain, mapping the human terrain. And now you look at what Jade Helm is, what they admit it is, and what people have found out that it is, and what a lot of people believe it will be. And then go back and watch this lecture, this presentation from 5 years ago, where in the beginning, within the first 10 minutes, the Lieutenant Colonel, Aldi Leonardo, says that the definitions he is using are based solely on how they are perceived and applied from a Special Ops Command perspective in his experience at the fusion centers. So, if you go to Webster's Dictionary and look up the words mastering, human, and domain, and put, oh, I know what that means. No, this means something completely different to the military. They're using those terms in different terms, basically. Okay. It's saying that they want to map your region socially.
Yeah.
In a sense, which is what Jade Helm is quote-unquote an exercise.
I see a lot of people out there, up to this point right now, because I would be there, I feel, is confused. Mapping my behavior socially. What the hell are you talking about?
Making maps of the United States or a region where they can look at the map and say, for example, okay, people in this area have a history of being hardcore liberals. People in this area are like devout Christians.
See,
this area is Amish country. Mass profiling. So
that's the simple explanation of what they're doing. Of course they're doing that. But in my opinion, if you ever played SimCity 2000, I'd like to say maybe even SimCity has these features, but definitely started in SimCity 2000 and SimCity 4. It was even more prevalent, and in SimCity 5, I'm pretty sure, or SimCity, sorry, the newest SimCity that just came out. It's very prevalent in it, and it's very fun to play with and look at. There's the ability to basically in SimCity when you have your population. As your population grows, you can start to view the population in the city in real time, but separated through different categories. Okay, now you can look at your people who have jobs in this field. You can look at people who have jobs in that field. You can look at people who are happy and people who are upset. People who, let's just say in the context that we're talking about, people who are not fans of the government and people who are fans of the government. You can block them off and look at them on a map as your fans of the government are in green and your not fans of the government are in like red. You know what I'm saying?
Texas
and where you see exactly when you see clumps of red, and it's like, okay, that's where we need to focus on, right? That's where I look at the geospatial mapping or the human mapping or whatever you want to call it. That's how I kind of look at it. But on a whole nother deeper level, I heard I listened to it in the background of doing other things today, and one thing I heard the Colonel say, this is the first guy that talked, the guy with all the pins and stars and stripes on his...
Lieutenant Colonel Al D. Leonardo.
Okay.
The guy that worked at the Fusion
Center.
What
I heard him say...
Or ran a Fusion Center, I'm sorry.
Was the baseball card. Now, the baseball card caught my ear immediately. The baseball card is, and what you'll find funny is in that video, you don't see any of the slides. You're not allowed to see any of the slides. They're obviously,
I noticed that, yes.
If not top secret, they're
He kept
not
mentioning
to be,
that he had slides being
Everybody had slides. Everybody. All the speakers.
And they kept zooming in on the speaker to the people who haven't seen the video. They kept focusing on the speaker and didn't allow you to see the slideshow.
Yeah, of course. But the one thing that he said was, well, that leads us to baseball cards, or what I like to call the baseball card. And a slide obviously came up that he was showing. And a baseball card is, in my opinion, from what I heard and listening up to that point, is, okay, you're Brian McFadden, okay? They have literally a file in their system, whatever the computer system is. Obviously, it's not Windows or Apple or anything like that, but it might even be a Linux system. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it?
That would be.
In their system, in their cybersecurity system, whether it's at NSA or whoever it is. Another thing I found funny before I forget is at the end or in the middle or something, somebody said, I'd just like to know, I think we'd all like to know a lot of times who's really in charge. You know, who's really the boss. And it's like, wait, shouldn't the Secretary of Defense really be the boss? And it's like, oh, well, there's got to be things kept from the Secretary of Defense as well. And like
to the microphone, it's like, oh, and for the record, I'm in charge.
Oh yeah, that other guy, that leader of a corporation or a foundation,
the geographer of the United States at the Department of State.
Yeah, that guy was pretty interesting, I thought. But basically, the baseball card is you're Brian McFadden, okay? Brian McFadden, and on this baseball card, there's a picture of you, okay? Now, on the side of this baseball card, this is my assumption of what it is, but I guarantee you it's somewhat similar to what he was talking about. There's a picture of you, okay? On the side of that, up in the corner, there's 6 pictures, okay? 6 small pictures in a little square box, okay? Right, all 3 and 3, right? One picture is you as a little kid. One picture is like a known picture of you as a little kid that they found online or for whatever purposes. They have a picture of you as a little kid. All right. They have a picture of you aged, where they've taken all the pictures of you, put them all together, turned you into one person at a particular age, and then aged you 10 years, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. They have you aged, and then they have the best like side shots. And the best forward shot, basically the best back of the head shot, like the best full body shot, everything, all these different pictures of you, whether or not you know these pictures exist or not. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, these are pictures that do exist of you that are out there on the internet. Facebook has been a wonderful thing for them to be able to create the baseball card. But not just your picture, Brian. It has little bulletin points or bullet points about who you are. Loves Call of Duty on Xbox, ranked, blah, 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 blah. Your rank, like, literally your rank would be up there and it'd probably be updated every few days. You know what I'm saying? The computer system would automatically
update. 31, 32 in the world in update.
Okay, right? And a host of 2 not-so-successful podcasts, okay? And in their mind, and the computer's got to be a little bit honest, all right? What do you call it? Where you've worked, you know, where you work now, what school you went to, your mother and your father's name, okay? If you have any siblings, anything like that, that's all listed on there. Your date of birth, all that, your social security number, all that, your thumbprint, your retina, you know what I'm saying? If they got to somehow have a scan of your retina, that's all.
They
all of that.
Do because I had an eye operation when I was like 2 years old.
Exactly. But all of that is on the card.
In 1984.
And then down like the right-hand color, or down the right-hand corner, there's a little code or a little like color code and also probably number code that identifies you to be what group you are in, whether you're in dissident group or, you know what I'm saying? And it's probably divvied up into like 4 or 5 different colors, and for each color there's a certain level that you are in that color, you know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're a green color and you're a 1, or you're a green color and you're a 5, you're a total shill. You're a total zombie, and you're like, I'll listen to whatever the government tells me to do, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you got a green and you got a 5, you know what I'm saying? But if you're somebody who's like, I believe in the government, but, you know, I still think it's right to question this and that, and it's like, but you know, if the government says I gotta wait for them to tell me what to do, well, I think I will. Well, then you're a green 1. But if you're like, fuck the government, fuck this shit, you're a red 5. It's like, yo, fuck that motherfucker, you're a red 3. The motherfucker who's like, yo, we're moving out, can I get the militia together? Those motherfuckers are a red 5 or a red 5 star or some shit. Who fucking knows?
Red 5 star.
You know, they gotta be starred because they're fucking coming for you or some shit. I don't fucking know. But it's like, they would have all that on the baseball card, but all of that information is all pulled together for that baseball card, but all that information is also constantly being used for all the other mapping and all that. It's all the NSA mass data that, from what I see of this, that's what all this has been done for.
Yes,
so we might have actually
100%.
screwed ourselves over. I thought about this earlier, is we might have actually screwed ourselves over, shot ourselves in the foot by not demanding, but letting Rand Paul, because nobody demanded that Rand Paul did it, but we were all kind of happy he did, letting Rand Paul filibuster and not let the Patriot Act renew. Okay? And letting some of the NSA provisions expire. and they passed a thing to make sure that those provisions didn't get reinstated. You know what I'm saying? Even though we said it's still going to happen, right? Maybe the NSA said, okay, you want us to stop? Eventually, we knew we were going to have to stop at some point. We were hoping it would be on our own accord. But when we stopped, it meant that we were going to start implementing all of the information that we have. We're not collecting this information just to sit on it and sit on a giant pile and say, I'm the king of the hill,
I'm the
king of the castle, the king of the information. Yeah, you can't have none of this. No. We're collecting it all. The fucking NSA and shit has been collecting it all to eventually use it for some nefarious purpose.
Of course.
Okay? Now, here's my thoughts that I wrote down on this. Okay? We might have really shot ourselves in the foot because we might have said we don't want the NSA spying on us or collecting our information and this and that. And what ended up happening was they said, okay, we'll stop collecting all your information and all that. It's time. That's the end of that part of it.
Phase.
Exactly. End of phase 1. Let's move into phase 2. All right, you fuckers. You don't know what you just asked for. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we were going to keep you
Exactly.
in phase 1
We were just going to keep collecting info, but now you want to fucking stomp your feet and say that's not right. Well, we'll stop doing that, and now we'll start using the fucking info against you, you fucks. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what they're saying, but this is what my thought was, all right? Using untraditional, this is what I got from after listening to the first 20 minutes and listening to the general or the colonel talking. I was like, holy shit, this guy's scaring the fuck out of me. Okay.
Right?
Ready?
That's why I sent it to you and said...
But a lot of military guys, there are a lot of militaries if you watch. I've watched probably in my lifetime maybe 10 or 15 presentations like that with one or two generals or colonels on stage, and a lot of times when they're talking, unless they're talking about a golf game or something non-consequential, but usually you're not watching them talk about that. A lot of times when they're talking, it's scary to listen to because it's like they're so serious, like they have to be on a whole nother level of serious. Yeah. But it's like when they're talking about some shit like this,
well,
it's like
with national
it's like holy shit, exactly. But when you're seeing them talking serious about this, it's like, this is scary, you know what I'm saying? Of course they're talking about doing it in other countries, but
when I see them talking serious about this type of program, what that says to me is, holy shit, they really feel that they're going to need to use this in the near future. Like,
yeah, but I've also seen them talking serious about funvax before. I've seen a very serious talk about funvax before, and come to find out funvax isn't actually... there's no evidence for funvax being a real thing. And we'll talk about funvax on a whole nother show. It's a pretty interesting concept. Where it came from is still debatable, and that's why I still find it interesting. If funvax, I believe, has been debunked as being there's no truth to the actual funvax itself, but I believe there's got to be some truth to the concept behind releasing an aerosolized... I don't think so. Right? Why are you looking at my notes? To releasing an aerosolized vaccine to eliminate certain behavioral traits out of mass groups of the public.
Chemtrails!
That's some crazy shit. Yeah, exactly. It ties back to chemtrails, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a huge believer of. I do believe there is some sort of a chemtrail program, and some chemtrails are being released, but not nearly to the extent that a lot of conspiracy theorists like to say.
Come out, but they're not actually called chemtrails. It's I forget. Atmospheric something blah blah blah.
Yeah, I know. There's explanations
we've
exactly.
Moved into an orbit where the sun is.
Yeah, I've heard that explanation too. I've also heard that debunked too. I've heard that. I've heard Weather Channel people say that that's bunk. That's what's funny. And it's like the Weather Channel, I'm not expecting to get the 190% truth from the Weather Channel all the time, but it's like a lot of time the Weather Channel likes to explain shit in their scientific manner, and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I like shit in the
Weather Channel's ratings dip, HARP gets turned on, and there's a massive storm.
Oh, I love whenever the Weather Channel's ratings dip, they put on shitty fucking reality TV shows where it's like they're fun to watch for like 3 or 4 episodes, and then you're like, I want to rip my fucking brain out because it's like, is this what the world's come to? Where the Weather Channel, the place where I used to go to before, and the weather would be on with jazz in the background, is now fucking with reality TV on, and it's like I'm sitting here zombied out to a fucking the Weather Channel. Hold on, I'm zoning out on the Weather Channel, and I'm not on acid or shrooms. Something's fucking wrong here. What's the world coming to?
I used to watch Storm Chasers on Discovery, but then the Weather Channel had that Storm Rider show, and it was just bad. It was so bad. The people.
I don't like any of the storm chasing shows.
I didn't like
it's all Twister. It's all like, hey, real life Twister. That's what I see every time I see one of those shows, and I see the ad for it. All I hear in that ad is, hey, real life Twister, check us out. We got a real Dorothy. All right, ready? This is my thought back on the what do you call it? On the GeoInt, I believe it's called. GeoInt.
Geospatial intelligence?
Yes, and they like to shorten it to GeoInt, which is it's a funny word. I don't know.
It is.
But I don't know. All right, here's what I wrote down. What I thought. Okay, look, just imagine all of this using untraditional data. Okay. Untraditional data being Facebook, blogs, local news stories, what he saw, diaries that have been found and scanned. Let's put it this way, or diaries that have been copied and those hard drives have been harvested and the data.
Live journal.
Well, think
like
about
that.
all the copy machines that have the hard drives have been harvested out of those and have been uploaded to a data center. I think a lot. I think that's something that nobody even really knows about, but it's like, how easy is it to get, especially when there's electronics recyclers, to get those hard drives and have those literally sent to the NSA or something like that? Like,
True.
That's ours. You send that to us. That's out. We need to know if anybody is copying kiddie porn or anybody's trying to make methamphetamines, or maybe not methamphetamine. They probably don't give a shit about that. But they want to, like, anybody's copying a terrorist manual. People, where did they find fucking... quiet weapons for silent weapons for quiet wars? Where did they find that? In a fucking copy machine. In a copy machine. So after that, maybe the NSA was like, we can't let that kind of like pertinent fucking information end up floating out there, just ending up in the trash, and somebody finds it and is like, oh, I wonder what's on this hard drive here, and finds some fucking extremely important shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So basically, using untraditional data and copy machines, a whole bunch of different things that you can really think of. Think about technology and any way that we broadcast our life. And a lot of people think, broadcast your life? What, on YouTube? No, I mean broadcast your life, whether it's through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. Check-ins, exactly.
Selfies.
And think about anytime you use Facebook Messenger, anytime you send a message on Facebook using your cell phone, it automatically tells the other person what town you're in.
Yeah.
So it automatically shares your location data with the other person. The fuck? All right, this is what I thought. Is using these untraditional data methods to surveil the American people, or they're going to use these untraditional data methods to surveil the American people as they attempt to fight back, as the American people attempt to fight back against some sort of encroachment on their civil liberties or something, okay? But think about this. Civilian 1 calls Civilian 2 and says, meet me by the old oak tree. Using old Facebook posts or even examining old pictures posted online by either of them or either of their families or friends to determine where that old oak tree is, giving them the ultimate ability to stifle any dissent or uprising. Guerrilla warfare would be completely out of the question. This is about analyzing everything, real time and stored data. So when I was talking about the Sims, okay, and you're watching real time people moving around and this and that, you're literally able to do that and track and watch because you have these systems set up. I'm almost starting to believe that if this is true, then what Jade Helm is they're actually coming into these towns and coming into all these areas, and in the middle of the night, they're going to be putting up literally secret, like, spy surveillance cameras, and they're not even really cameras. They're more detailed, like, area scanners that gives a 3D detailed image, real-time image that's being logged in a computer. Think about the data centers that have been being built all over, and the NSA continues to build bigger and bigger data centers, okay? And we think, oh, it's for the harvesting of our information or the bulk data, the bulk collection of our data. Well, what if it's actually really for a new program, kind of like Batman Dark Knight, right? Where they use cell phones and all that, and maybe they are starting to, maybe they need to equip cell phone towers and shit like that.
How many sci-fi movies have you seen where they have that ability to give you a 3D?
Maybe all that information was, so when they bring this, maybe the harvesting of all that information in this program itself, right, the presentation that we watched today, right, maybe all of that is literally, like, when it comes up, you need all that information. When that system comes up, you need all that information to literally complete that system. So when you zoom in on somebody, you already have their picture on file, and you know everything about them.
I'm wondering if maybe it'll be
it's all already interconnected.
I know you don't play a lot of shooters, but like games like Halo and Call of Duty, when you look around the map, all of your teammates have that little tag with their name and their call tag above their head. It could be something like that, where when they run this 3D scan, all those little sim characters running around have a little name ID right above them that they can pop on at any time.
Now, in the video game sense, okay, think of a game like Command and Conquer, okay? Don't step away from first person.
What I see Jade Helm
think of RPG, okay? But in the sense of
Real-time
strategy. Sorry, not RPG. Think of RTS. Okay, Command and Conquer is a perfect example where you can highlight a group of 30 individuals and tell them to head over to this spot. But also in Command & Conquer, one thing you used to be able to do, I don't know if it's probably in the newer games there aren't even civilians running around, but you used to be able to click on a civilian, and if you were GDI, which is the good guys, right? If you were GDI, you could click on a civilian and tell him to either attack something or to run somewhere. And if he doesn't have a gun, he's going to go up and try and like attack the thing and like beat on it or whatever. Yeah. But if you tell him to go run somewhere, he's going to go run somewhere. The only thing he doesn't have a gun. You can't like give him a gun in that moment, but you can still control him. All right. So This is my last thought on it. It's a whole new concept. Monitor all data, control all data, and at a certain point, they can control the movement and actions of people. They can control the movement and actions that create that data. They can literally, as the data is coming, get so far up the chain that they're right at the beginning of the data feed, the source of the data, and can literally steer it because they have so much control over all of that data. And the data that we're putting out, they're almost feeding us. So think about mainstream media and the click rates and shit like that, and then people talking about how we're a zombie country and there's mind control and everything and this and that and subliminal messages and shit like that. So they're feeding us certain shit, and now we're almost just like a science project to them, and now they're evaluating more and more of the data, but it's coming to a point where they're like, let's try and control these fuckers. There comes a point where we can control them, Silent weapons for quiet wars. It makes me think of silent weapons for quiet wars. It's so fucking scientific.
Science project. Here's one not too many people even realize.
What?
Some people connected to Facebook came out and said that they're actually doing a scientific study. Mm-hmm. You know how they did that thing where they had everybody see how many people they could get to change their profile picture to have the rainbow flag? Uh-huh. They're testing to see how long it takes certain demographics of people to change their profile picture back.
That's what,
and they admit this.
That's part of what they were talking about in the presentation that we watched is the literal analyzation of everything.
Yep.
And the overanalyzation of everything to find little quirks here and there, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's kind of creepy because it really means that it's the Hegelian dialect is, what do you call it?
Problem
reaction solution. Right now, they're trying to complete the trifecta. And literally, like,
give us the solution.
Exactly. They see the problem.
They see the
reaction. And now they're controlling the problem. They're controlling the reaction. And now they're going to start controlling the solution. You know? And we're going to think it's our solution. That's the fucked up part about it is.
And what I see of this solution is it's really starting to look like Orwell's 1984.
Yeah.
It's the way the mass control grid where they know everything. We've already seen examples of the quote-unquote thought police.
Yeah.
This is Hitler's dream here. If Adolf Hitler had this technology...
That's the saddest part is when you know about Project Paperclip and you know that there were certain high-level Nazi members that came in to our company or came into our country and started companies or actually were working with our government and NASA and shit like that.
Fans are sitting there saying, oh, they're just talking about Captain America too. No, Paperclip was real. You can look that up. It's been declassified. There was Capitol Hill hearings
I hope we don't have any fans of Captain America watching not any fans of Captain America. No, exactly. Who are watching this and don't know all that shit.
There were hearings before the Senate and the House about this way back when. You can look them up.
Yeah, everybody. I don't want to say everybody knows, but if you have any kind of intelligence, if you have any kind of actual intelligence on United States history and even World War II history, then you should know about Operation Paperclip. I always call it Project Paperclip because it sounds better.
I got all things that are good.